If peppermint chocolate bark is one of your favorite holiday treats, then you are going to love my healthier homemade version. My recipe is made with a layer of Medjool dates and then topped with almond butter and crushed almonds. Then you spread a layer of your favorite melted chocolate followed by crushed candy canes. The finishing touch is a beautiful spiral of white chocolate for aesthetic and flavor. And the best part is that it includes nutrient-dense ingredients that are naturally sweetened without refined sugar or high fructose corn syrup. To assemble our bark, we're going to start by laying down a sheet of parchment paper. And then I'm just going to fold it in half and then open it up. And then we're going to take 12 Medjool dates and we're going to slice them in half. And as I cut them, I will try to not cut all the way through, so that I can simply butterfly them open before I lay them on my parchment paper. After laying down 4 rows of 3 Medjool dates, I'm just going to lightly spray the other side of my parchment paper with some non-stick, and I'm just using coconut oil. And then I'll close the parchment paper, and then with a rolling pin, I'll just start flattening out the dates. Helps if you kind of hold it flat with one hand and then roll with the other. And then we'll pull back our parchment paper and then move them around if needed so that we can fill in any gaps. And this layer does not have to be pretty because it's going to be covered up in chocolate. And then we're going to spread on about 2 tablespoons of almond butter, which is going to add delicious texture and flavor as well as some nutrients. And then to add some more delicious crunch and texture, I'm going to chop up about 2 tablespoons of almonds. You can just spread these out on your cutting board and then take a nice big knife and just gently chop them down. You could also use store-bought slivered almonds. But you could also use pecans or cashews or any other nut that you think would taste delicious with peppermint and chocolate, which is just about all of them. And we'll sprinkle these on top of our bark. Next, we want to melt down our chocolate, and I just added half a cup of chocolate chips to a microwave-safe bowl. And you can use any chocolate chips you like that meet your dietary preference. Then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of coconut oil. And then I'm going to microwave this in 30-second intervals, taking it out in between to stir it until it's nice and smooth. So after the first 30 seconds, you can see that it's starting to melt, but not quite there yet. So I'm just going to give it a quick stir to move everything around. And then it's going back in the microwave for a second 30 seconds. So after our second round of 30 seconds, you can see that it's nice and melted. So I'm just going to stir it until it's smooth. And then now we'll simply pour this all over our bark. And yes, this is as fun and satisfying as it looks. Now I'm just going to take my spatula and move the chocolate around so that it's filling in all those nooks and crannies. Ooh, that looks so good. To add our peppermint candy layer, we can use either candy canes or peppermint candies. And you can find organic versions of both of these that have all natural ingredients. I'm going to take 2 candy canes and just drop them inside of a sandwich bag. And then press out the air, seal the end. And then I'm just going to take a solid object and then whack them until they're broken into small pieces. And before I pour these all over my bark, I'm going to hold out just a few of the larger pieces so that I can sprinkle them on the top at the very end. And now I'll spread the rest on top of the chocolate. That is so beautiful, adding on that pink and red and white candy. To create our white chocolate layer, I've just taken 1/4 cup of white chocolate melting wafers. And you can also use white chocolate chips. And again, there's many varieties out there to meet your dietary preference. And I'm going to add half a teaspoon of coconut oil. Because we're melting less chocolate at once, I'm going to heat it up in 18-second intervals, stirring it in between because I don't want to overheat it, which will cause it to become very thick and kind of dry. So after 18 seconds, I'm going to take it out and just give it a quick stir, and you can see that it's beginning to melt, but definitely not there yet. So now I'll put it in for another 18 seconds. So after a second 18 seconds, you can see that it's starting to melt. I'm just going to stir it for a minute until it melts completely. Now you can drizzle this chocolate over your bark however you like, but if you'd like to have a little bit more control over it, I suggest putting it into just a small snack bag and then piping it on. I'm just going to take a small snack bag and then fold the opening back on itself and then just kind of spread it out so it will sit upright. And then I'm going to pour my white chocolate right into the bag, gently press out the excess air, seal the top of the bag, and then find one of the corners and kind of pinch the corner to move the chocolate out of the way. Now with a pair of scissors, I'm just going to cut a very small little triangle opening so that I can have a very fine drizzle. I've decided to do just a circular swirling pattern over my bark. So I'm just going to spin this around in some circular patterns. Oh, that is so beautiful. Yes, we are creating art with our bark. That rhymes. Well, I think that has really good coverage, and I only used up about maybe half of my white chocolate. So you can use up all the chocolate if you like on your bark, or you might have some apples or pretzels laying around that you could dip in your chocolate. I promise I'll be making very good use of mine. So for the finishing touch, I'm just going to add a few more pieces of my candy cane to the very top, just to showcase that beautiful color on top of the white. To solidify your bark, you'll want to put it into the fridge for probably 20 to 30 minutes, or if you're impatient like me, you can put it into your freezer for about 10 minutes. So first, I'm going to lift it right onto my pan, and I'll just leave the parchment paper with it, and then this is going into my freezer for about 10 minutes. I just took my bark out of the freezer after 10 minutes, and it looks perfect. And now you have this incredible piece of peppermint chocolate date bark. Now you can decide if you just want to go right in for a bite, or we can just break off a corner. Oh yeah. And do a quality control test. That is so yummy. Having a layer of dates on the bottom just gives it a really chewy texture, kind of like a candy bar. And then you get the peppermint flavor that's coming in through those candies on top. And then you bite into that cooled set chocolate. And then you get the little drizzle of white chocolate around the top. And then getting those almonds in there just gives you a really satisfying crunch for just an overall wonderful experience. And I love that it's not overpoweringly sweet like traditional bark is, because that layer of dates and the almond butter and the almonds really kind of helps to counterbalance the sweetness level of the candy and the two chocolates. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today to make this fun bark. And I've included a link to the full recipe in the video description below, and it's on my website, gentletummy.com. And I also invite you to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you know someone else who you think would love to have this healthier peppermint bark recipe, please share this video with them. And I cannot wait to have you hang out with me again in my kitchen.